Greetings, dear ones, and thank you for the contact. Thank you for showing up and for being here on this planet at this most auspicious time. The lessons here are not easy to learn. Being here is not a simple choice. It is a huge commitment for a soul to enter the human body on this planet Earth, especially at this point of great change, a great evolutionary shift is taking place here. That is quite clear to those whose eyes are open and who realize what is taking place. And who do not simply wish to be buffeted and carried along in a state of powerlessness in the midst of that change. Our deepest wish is that these transmissions speak to the wholeness and not just to the spiritual part of us. The wish is to hear and be reminded of what it once came from before it entered the earthly realm. Our longing is for these transmissions to speak to all parts of the self, the most vulnerable parts of the self that struggle to cross the veil. The parts of the self that carry the lot of hurt, that feel quite unsafe to let down their guard. Parts of the self that need the period of time to be restored to their rightful place in the whole as the children of God, the immaculate concept of divinity. Dear one, take a deep breath in. Sit with us as you are. Even if you struggle to turn and face yourself, without judgment, without squirming, without discomfort. We know your fears and anxieties. We know your hurts. And they are perfectly welcome in this space and at this time. As we move on to speak to the final pillar, the seventh pillar, around the core theme of our transmission, which has been the acronym of Lemuria. And the seventh pillar is the state of attunement. What does it mean to be attuned? To flow and move with life as it is, without resistance, without discord. A feeling of peace and harmony, a feeling of ease. And to live under the law of grace. And the law of non-interference. There is this calm serenity that can descend and blanket over your human experience, softening the edges, smoothing out the creases, and creating more space for joy. In your life. It is the soul's deepest longing on this earth plane. When one can learn to live under these laws fully and completely. And the beauty of this pillar is that all of the effort falls away. Because from the time when we enacted the pillar of motivation to understanding, to respect, to integrity, all of those pillars required the effort of the human will. Because of the great gravitational pull that is designed to test the soul on this earth. That is designed to help a soul to become so one-pointed and fierce in his commitment and devotion. The soul cannot come onto earth and enter the human body and just live under the law of grace. The gravitational weight will work on that soul as he moves through childhood and on into adulthood, pulling him down where it wishes to lead, to a place of forgetting, to a place of disconnection, to a place of fragmentation, to a place of delusion. And it can be very tempting to put all the focus and attention on that gravitational force and the ones who are guiding that, the ones who are designing this program, these tests, and to go down that rabbit hole and grapple and fight against and try and change those programs. And that is natural and an inevitable phase of the waking up process. That one will put their focus and attention there. And to say, if only this gravitational force would stop, my life would be at ease, and I would be able to live under this law of grace, in full remembrance of my divinity as a child of God. And we introduce these pillars to help guide a soul beyond that temptation, into a place of sovereign direction and governance. And there is that sense of standing alone against the tide, enacting great will and the effort to live that kind of life on this earth. We say again, it doesn't happen by chance. That is a fantasy. That is unrealistic to dream of. The dream that you begin to wake up and immediately land into the attuned space and living under the flow and laws of grace and ease and peace. But even though That is not the process. There does come a moment when all of that effort that has been building through the other pillars does begin to melt away. It's no longer required. And you reach that point of paradox and discovery that the human will is actually an obstacle to the pillar of attunement. The self needs to become empty, needs to surrender. And allow divine forces to move in and take residence and to guide the soul forward from here. And that is the nature of the process. Where the spiritual path at the beginning becomes very self-orientated. A huge amount of shadow work, clearing out, detaching from the collective unconscious. Period of discovery. And that effort can take years, decades, before one hits that point of realization that they have come to the end of the road. All the work on the self, all the effort to love the self, all the effort to integrate, and to become more integral, doesn't take you to the end. Takes you to the door. A door that appears to be a wall because it has no handle. It has no lock where a key can magically open it. And the soul will come up against that wall time and time again. And that is naturally quite frustrating. To be so committed and devoted to your spiritual path, to your clearing process, to your integration process, to being more wholehearted and standing alone in your sovereign power in the face of this gravitational pull. And yet, despite that effort, you come up against that law. The last frontier that stands between you and God. And all that one can do there is build an altar. To lay down the self on that altar. As much as one can. And to discover the humility that softens any remaining pride or arrogance, that by my will I can get across to the other side. All of this must be placed on that altar. And as that frustration begins to melt, as you drop to your knees before this door, lay everything down at the feet of that door. What can happen in an instant, in a moment of generosity, is that this door will open and what is beyond that door it is what we call home. To be restored home whilst remaining on this earth. To be so rooted in that center. To be so connected to the deepest truth. To listen so clearly to guidance. To be so at peace. That you can then move into relationships and interactions with this world from a completely different space. There is no more holding back. No more need to wear a mask. No need to shudder in the face of all the triggers and the bumps in the road that you come up against by walking your path. No need to apologize for being here. No need to placate or enable. To be so at peace. To be so unattached to what happens around you. To be so clear. In doing what you know needs to be done. That is what lies beyond that door. And we encourage all souls to reach that point where they can build that altar at that door and kneel in their humility. It is the place we are all moving towards. In the journey of human incarnation on this earth. Thank you for the contact today. Until next time, dear one, blessed be.